Hi everyone, and welcome back to ProjectPro's YouTube channel. As we move into a world where data is becoming more and more prevalent, data analysis has become an essential part of all businesses. As companies strive to extract insights from data, the demand for data analysts has surged, leading to intense competition within the job market. ProjectPro has put together a comprehensive collection of the top 20 data analyst interview questions and answers, hopefully giving you a competitive edge in this highly sought after profession. Let's get straight into the video.
So we're going to start off with 6 behavioral questions. These are long and tedious, but they're very important for the interviewer to know if you're going to be a cultural fit for their company. It shows them how you communicate as well as how you handle different work situations. So the first question that you might be asked, or you definitely will be asked, is to introduce yourself and why you applied for this particular role. So my tips for you here would be to highlight your technical proficiency, that is your SQL, R, Python, or Tableau, as well as your problem-solving skills, your communication ability, as well as how you think you fit into the team's culture. So I have a proxy response here for you. You can see in this first paragraph, I talk about why I believe I am good for this role, and I then move into how this opportunity excites me because of the challenging nature of the role and how you can use your technical skills to contribute to the company's growth. And my final point kind of talks about the culture of the team and how I think I would thrive in a collaborative environment where I could work with different stakeholders. But yeah, overall, this 3-paragraph response should give you a very good skeleton to kind of build your response off. Moving on to the next question, you might get one that's saying, what datasets have you worked with in the past? For this question, I would approach it with giving specific examples. I would discuss the different datasets that I've worked with, whether it's structured versus unstructured, or if I've had to set up an API endpoint to query things directly. I'd also talk about the complexity of these data sets. Do we have any duplicates? Is the data very messy? Is it missing? As well as different skills I have used within SQL or Python to manipulate my data. So as an example here, you can open up your statement with, I've had the chance to work with a wide variety of data sets, and then give a couple of examples about your previous role or during your studies, what have you been doing? My next paragraph talks about the different data sets that I've worked with, and I also kind of talk about the tools that I've used. So here I've used SQL for data manipulation, Python for the analysis, as well as Tableau for visualizations. And I wrap up by saying that I feel very comfortable working with large volumes of data to extract insights for the business. So moving on to the next question, what is the process for cleaning data that you would normally follow? So for this, my tips would be to discuss how data cleaning ensures accuracy, reliability, and consistency, all of which are crucial for deriving accurate insights and making informed decisions. I like the phrase garbage in equals garbage out. I would also be mentioning missing values, duplicates, outliers, and how I really assure the data is correct. And I would also talk about the different tools that I've used, whether it's SQL or different Python packages like pandas or matplotlib. So here I have a draft response for you. So I talk about a systematic process that I follow, where I would start with data profiling to understand the data. I then talk about how I remove duplicates and standardize any outliers. And finally, I perform my quality checks to validate the final cleaned data set. And wrapping up my response by saying that reliable data is essential for meaningful insights. The next behavioral question you might be getting is, how would you explain technical concepts to non-technical audiences? So my tip for you here is that it's really important to understand your audience, know how familiar they are with the concepts that you are talking about. I would definitely avoid jargon or any kind of fancy statistical words. Remember that diagrams are super useful. Have as many of these as you can, different examples to visualize things. And always focus on the impact and how it positively impacts the stakeholders' goals. As an example here, I've talked about my previous role where I was responsible for presenting the results of a customer segmentation analysis to senior management. And of course, you want to talk about the outcome. So for me, this was a very successful presentation that effectively communicated the key insights and enabled the management team to make some informed decisions. And another behavioral question you might get how do you manage conflicting priorities and deadlines? So for this one, I would explain how you prioritize your tasks and allocate resources accordingly, because this kind of shows your time management abilities. Remember that communication is key. They also want to know how you work under stress. Are you very frantic, or are you more organized and you can actually deliver work? So in this example, I'm talking about how I was working on multiple different tasks with competing deadlines. And for me to manage the situation, I prioritize the tasks based on impact and urgency. I also showed that I have the ability to communicate by setting expectations with my stakeholders regarding the timelines. And overall, I'm talking about the results because I have effective time management skills and I'm communicating with team members proactively. I managed to meet all the project deadlines and delivered all my analysis to very high quality. And one more behavioral question is, describe a time that you collaborated with cross-functional teams to drive data-oriented decision making. So this is one of those questions where they give you a scenario and they want to hear how you talk about it. For me, my main tips would be to talk about the skills that you have brought to the table and how you built up a collaborative environment. What the interviewers want to hear is your communication skills, and they want to hear the outcomes that you have achieved. So you want to be able to reflect and look back on what went well and what didn't go so well and learn from them for future. So an example here I have is, in a previous project, I collaborated with different teams and marketing, sales, and product teams to optimize a particular piece of work. You can see how every interview response that I have crafted, I start off with an overview, what I did, and then in the end, I'm going to wrap it up with the outcomes and what I've achieved. Now moving on into the second part of this video, we're now going to go through 7 commonly asked statistics questions with answers. So the first question is something I have been asked in multiple different interviews, and this is, what is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning? So supervised learning relies on data that is already labeled, where the algorithm is learning to make predictions based on something that's already known. So it's used for tasks like classification and regression, aiming to accurately predict your outcomes. As an example, is this person going to make a purchase? On the other hand, unsupervised learning works with unlabeled data and focuses on finding patterns and structures within the data. So it is used for tasks such as clustering and discovering some hidden relationships. Moving on to the next question, what is sampling? Sampling is the process of selecting a smaller subset of your data from a larger population and just kind of make conclusions about the entire population from there. Another question I've been asked multiple times is, what is k-means clustering? So k-means clustering is a popular unsupervised machine learning algorithms which basically groups similar data points into distinct clusters or separate groups. So what it does is the algorithm tries to group the data into k clusters. So you can assign k any number, it could be 5 or 15, and the algorithm will iteratively assign data points to the nearest cluster center based on their distance. And k-means clustering is used widely in various fields such as customer segmentation and anomaly detection. Another question, what is the normal distribution? So the normal distribution is known as a Gaussian distribution. I'm sure you've all heard of the bell curve. So this is a probability distribution that is characterized by its symmetric shape with the mean, median, and mode all at the very center of the distribution as follows. The next question is, what are the steps in exploratory data analysis? So first one is your data collection. Obviously, you need to have data to be able to analyze anything. Next is data cleaning. So how are you going to clean your data, handle the missing values, the outliers, and the inconsistencies? Next is your data visualization. So creating visual representations to better understand the different relationships and patterns. You can create your own summary statistics to better understand the dataset. So next we have feature engineering, where we're basically deriving new features or transforming existing ones, for example, creating a new group variable. Moving on, we also have correlation analysis, where we're basically examining relationships between variables. So for example, is there a correlation between time spent on page and conversion? We also cover off outlier detection here. Another one is pattern recognition. So similar to correlation analysis, here we're looking for particular patterns or trends that we can then share with the rest of the business. Moving on, another question I've gotten multiple times is, how do I handle missing values in a dataset? And this is a crucial step in data analysis, as it can really impact your accuracy and reliability of your results. And there are two main ways to address missing values. The first one is just removing any of these records. And the second more common method is imputation, which is where you are just replacing any missing values with estimated or calculated values. So moving on to the next question, what are the pros and cons of data visualization? So advantages include, obviously, visualizing data makes it much easier to comprehend complex patterns and identify new insights. It can also help you easily detect your outliers, as well as improve communication to non-technical stakeholders, because we all know diagrams are just easier to digest and understand. But on the other hand, it can lead to misinterpretation of results, and sometimes you can have overly complex charts that are showing way too many things that can lead to information overload. So for the last part of today's video, let's move on into commonly asked SQL questions. The first one here is, what is the difference between an inner and an outer join? Inner join returns only the matching records from both tables based on your join. So anything that is unmatched from either table will not be shown. And the outer join, on the other hand, will return all records from one table and the matching records from the outer table, and it will include unmatched rows with null values for columns from the other table. Next, when would you use a distinct clause? So distinct is used in a select statement to return only unique or distinct values from a combination of columns. So it's mainly used to remove any kind of duplicates and only retrieve the unique values. Moving on, what is the difference between a where and a having clause? So the where clause is used to filter rows based on specific conditions in a select statement. So you might have where age is greater than 50. So it operates on individual rows before the group by clause. We now have the having clause, which is used to filter groups of rows based on conditions specified by aggregate functions. So as an example, it could be having average age or having minimum age is greater than 50, and operates on the grouped rows after the group by clause. You might be asked to write some code to retrieve the second to the fifth characters of a string. So for this one, you should know to use a substring clause. In this case, we have select substring from our column name. So 2 represents the starting position of the substring, and 4 represents the number of characters to extract. Moving on to the next question, we are asked to write code to retrieve the top 3 salaries from table X. So to get the top 3, you want to be ordering by descending salaries. So here we're getting select salary from table X, ordering by salary descending to get the maximum salaries at the very top, and then limit 3 to restrict the results set to only include the top 3 rows. And the last interview question you might be getting is, write some code to group age into buckets, 0 to 19, 20 to 29, and 30 to 39, etc. So here we're selecting age, and then we're using a case statement to create the extra column called age underscore grouped. That's basically grouping age into your different age buckets. And each age range is defined using the between operator and your specific values. And you can see the else clause is used to group all your remaining ages into the 40 plus category. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these 20 questions and that you learned something. All the best for your upcoming data analyst interview. I will see you in my next video. Bye!